Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic edition of DialogBOX, episode 17. I looked back at the numbers. It's 17. And if it's not, then it's 18. And then I don't know how to count. If you are unaware of DialogBOX, it is the only podcast featuring me, your host, Laughingboy LP. How do I introduce myself other than that?
Amazing. That's how you did it. You did it.
Yep, I did an amazing job. I have three extremely lovely guests here today, whatever time of day it is when you're watching this. Who knows? First off, I have streamer and content creator Sab Irene. Hello.
Hi. I'm happy to be here and chat with all you lovely people about good times. Good times, ? Maybe. Maybe we'll say that.
Good times?
Oof.
Gotta get that upward inflection. I also have content creator. Oh my god, what? Just suddenly get tongue-tied. Hi, Shinjinator. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here as well.
I should have asked before. It's like, what name do you prefer? Do you prefer the YouTube name? Do you prefer the real name?
I don't have a preference. Jacqueline, Shinjinator, Shinsha, whatever floats your boat.
My boat is floating.
What's your boat saying?
On Shinjanator.
Yes. I get Shinjanitor a lot. I'm not a janitor.
That is not the content that I create.
No, it is not. I don't, yeah.
Like 7 hours of watching me put in urinal cakes.
Clean.
There's a big building.
Yep.
It's a very large building. Finally, we have streamer and content creator Tom Fox. Hello.
Hi, I'm not a janitor either.
Oh my gosh, is that what the topic is? We're going to talk about
There
not
we go.
being a janitor.
So.
Yep, the topic is not being a janitor. Things that aren't janitors, go.
Wait, what? I thought it was about specifically being
Cool,
janitors.
end of podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good job. This is the shortest one I've ever had to do.
I think that's
4
the only thing
minutes.
we have in common, right? That we're
Quick.
all not janitors.
That we're streamer,
the
content
only-
creator, and not janitor.
Three things that aren't janitors. A fork, janitors, damn it.
Please have that as our titles. Please. Not janitor.
Not janitor. Well, yeah, but I'm the only janitor here.
No, you're not.
I have several keys. How can I not be?
I have all the keys. I'm a musician. Haha.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
The
got
major
'em.
and minors.
And all the other weird skills.
Is cleaning
No.
one of them?
We call them the fun ones.
No.
Janitors would have descalers for the toilets. So, in case you haven't realized, this podcast episode is not about being a janitor, which is weird. I thought I specifically asked for janitors when I sent out the call-outs for this episode, but oh well.
But everyone put lies on their resume.
Everyone fluffs it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, marketing
Just a
extraordinaire,
touch.
content creator, and was janitor, former janitor.
Current janitor. I clean my house.
Once a week I put on my janitor's hat. I
Do
scrub them
janitors wear
toilets.
hats?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Why does that remind me of like that old D&D saying? I put on instead of I put on my robe and wizard hat, I put on my robe and janitor hat.
Yeah.
My onesie and janitor hat and my big ass broom. Today's topic, we're going to talk about conventions. Haven't been to one in a while. How about you guys?
Yeah, you know.
I get the feeling that there's something preventing us from doing that. Can't
Something
say
came up
exactly
recently.
What. I don't know what it is that's blocking them, but for some reason they're just not happening. Can't really tell you why.
Something in the air.
Yeah.
Something having to do with beer. I don't know.
Something called a
So they call it it's the
Janitor
janitor
strike.
virus.
That's right. Yeah, it's a big ass strike. All the janitors have formed podcasts. Nobody's cleaning the bathrooms anymore. It's a mess. No,
if you've ever been to a convention, a convention center bathroom,
every 5 minutes, those toilets were new Wednesday night. We put in all brand new toilets. They've been dead since Thursday afternoon. You sometimes get different like convention bathroom experience. I'm sorry that I've taken a turn on this topic here, but like you sometimes get different convention bathroom experience based on like cleanliness, depending on like who the clientele is. Because I've been to some conventions where the bathrooms have always been immaculate because everyone who went to that convention was a neat freak. But then I've been to other ones where like everyone are total slobs, and it's like going to a baseball game.
There's no in between. It's immaculate or it's disgusting.
You have to go to the cleanly people convention, CleanCon, the janitors convention.
I judge places solely on how nice their bathroom is, like hotel, apartments, everything. If the bathroom is nice, it's a solid place.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I think like the nicest nicest convention bathroom experience I've ever had was Kineticon because of that like thing I was talking about. Everyone there's a neat freak.
Why didn't I make this a topic?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like
it's a topic now.
Putting that as a topic.
You know, I've kind of forced this topic into here, so now let's roll with it. Anyway. Kineticon probably had the cleanest bathrooms ever because first off, their cleaning staff was really good. It's not a very big convention, and everybody who goes there is kind of a neat freak.
I mean, it's Connecticut.
Yeah.
I used to live in Connecticut. I can attest.
The worst experience I ever had with a convention bathroom was New York Comic-Con, and
yes,
that's Comic-Con. So
that adds up. Yeah, that checks out.
When did you go?
New York Comic-Con? Oh man, I was in college, so probably around like 2010 or 2011.
Damn, I think I started going like 2 years after that.
Oh wow.
That's been a yearly trip that we used to make back when the world wasn't sick.
Yep.
Sniff.
No, I would say the cleanest bathroom experience I had is technically a cheat because it was at MomoCon last year. No, 2 years ago. See? And it was only because I walked to the complete other side of the hotel. So like it's all in that one area, and then I just walked to the other side of it and I found one bathroom, and I think there was like 2 toilets in the entire bathroom, but it was the cleanest bathroom in the entire convention. PAX East.
Was that because there was nobody going to those bathrooms on the other side of that hotel? Okay.
Yeah. It was as quiet as a church mouse. Like, there was nobody there, and I was like, I have to remember this place forever because this is like, well, yeah, like when you're having anxiety attacks, this is the quietest place in the con.
It's my secret cap. I always find the cleanest bathroom.
It's my superpower. I always know where they are.
Yeah.
No, that's what is it? That's the Seinfeld. What if Seinfeld were still on TV today? That was like one of the modern Seinfeld plots. Is like George invents an app that tells you where all the cleanest bathrooms are.
Are you serious?
That's incredible.
That's a good one. That's probably my favorite one.
I would actually use that.
That could probably work out based on like if you had some way to have like janitors report into that app. So it's like, here's the last time that bathroom was cleaned, and then that kind of determines when it was how clean that bathroom is.
It would
take
be
a photo.
The best
it's the
app
Yelp
idea.
For bathrooms.
Yeah, it's like Waze. Like you can report on when a bathroom toilet is just like completely ripped off, or if it's just hanging by a thread. You can report on like, is it out of order? Is there a flood? Like, don't go in that bathroom. It would be the best.
You'll have a Karen who's like, 1 star, it was filthy, and there's like 1 paper towel on the floor, and everything else is totally fine.
That's how they get it to be their spot. Because
clog the toilet in 3 stalls.
I would say PAX East is probably one of the worst bathroom experiences.
Yeah, PAX East
convention-wise.
is kind of rough. Like, it was nice. They at some point a few years ago, they made it like all gender inclusive, which was awesome, but it was also pretty gross.
Yeah, and I remember for New York Comic Con, I remember some people like we didn't at the time. They weren't gender, or they were still gendered. Like there were no non-gendered bathrooms at the time. So you still had women trying to get into the men's room because they were trying to not stand in line for the women's room. And so there was just a lot of chaos in the exhibit hall. But I felt like the bathrooms were okay there. I think MomoCon was either MomoCon or PAX East. Yeah, it was PAX East was the one where I had to like learn how to just have the leg strength so that my butt didn't hit the seat.
You got to learn how to use those toilet seat covers, and if they don't have any, then you gotta learn how to make the toilet paper nest.
Look, just
Do the squat.
yeah, you need to do your squats outside of conventions, like for a week. Just do squats, and then you'll be perfectly ready to not touch the toilet seat.
Or you could just do the toilet
Can't
paper
do it.
nest.
I don't want to get into details
Nope,
as to why, but I can't do it.
Toilet paper
Or you
nest,
could just
please,
leave. You could just maybe find a Starbucks or something. That's actually the worst bathroom experience I've had was E3, far away from the convention center. We were meeting up with friends, and I went to a Starbucks in Los Angeles, and I think they just let anyone use that bathroom, and they never cleaned it. It was the Starbucks itself looked fine. Like, it looked pretty well kept up. The one bathroom they had in there was a disaster area. I felt dirty just breathing the air.
Oof.
It's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And now we have a pandemic to worry about.
Yeah. Well, it was like that Dumb and Dumber scene where it's just like, there's shit everywhere.
Yeah. Amazing.
Because there was. I think I had to wash my entire body after that. It was
Oh my god.
Disgusting.
Seb, how
feel
you
like I
doing over
haven't-
there?
I feel like I haven't had any standout like con bathroom experiences because I think like for me I'm just like go in, get out. Like I try to be as fast as possible because normally like I'm just bouncing around at conventions where I'm like, okay, I have to go here, then here, then here, then here, then here. So like if I can find 10 seconds to go to the bathroom and it's not like stopping the people that I'm with, I'll be like, okay, but I've only been to a few, so and most people have been like, yeah, they were garbage experiences. I'm like, okay, I guess they were bad bathrooms.
Guess I won't use that bathroom. Thank you for the fair warning.
Well, like PAX East, I'm like, I didn't think the bathrooms were that bad, but maybe it was the time that I went where I was. I don't know.
I guess it could be hit or miss some years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people either hit or miss the toilet seat.
Oh.
Heyo.
Ring ding ding. I need to have a soundboard for these.
I didn't think we'd be getting into cleanliness and hygiene at conventions so early on, but here we are.
Such a big part of it, though.
It's a
It
huge
really
part of
is.
it.
It's mostly a smell thing for me, like the BO that just wafts through the air.
Oh god.
Like it's to the point
it's
where
pretty nasty.
before you go to a convention, they tell you like, "Yo, please shower, wear deodorant." Like it's on the badges sometimes.
Please have more than one change of clothes.
There's one image that kind of floats around the image every now and again where it's like an anime girl in just a towel and it says showers are sexy, take one today.
That's how you get them to do it. Whatever
Yeah.
works. If it works, it works.
Well, there's a part of me that's like, what is so important that you just have to leave? Like, I can understand there are some cases where, because I've done it, where you have a room of 8 people, and if one person takes a shower, it's like a half an hour per person, I guess. Like anywhere from like 10 minutes to 20 minutes to do the showering and the cleaning up and everything. So if it's like 8 people, you could be there for 3 hours just sitting around.
At that point, you just gotta kind of like schedule it out. Like, okay, can I stand and take a shower the night before
Exactly.
and be able to clean myself up enough like the following morning or something like that?
Or
Yeah.
use
Oh,
your
yeah.
best friend dry shampoo. Sometimes,
Ooh, that's
Very true.
sometimes it's
That's a
very
pro
helpful
tip.
in a pinch. If you're like dead, it's like, okay, well, at least this will do something, and then, come morning or whatever, do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I need to learn how to use dry shampoo.
It's easy. You just give a little spray, a little spritz, like a little far away from your hair, and just kind of massage
in.
it around.
Yep. And then you're done.
And then
Massage
give
it
it the
in
sound
and, like-
effects.
I mean, like you comb your hair out or brush your hair out so that
Yeah.
way it doesn't like tangle up when you're trying to like rub the shampoo in there.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Because I was using it for a while because of the pink hair.
Right.
That washes out like immediately.
Really?
Yeah, I know a lot of people want like rose gold hair color, but in like 2 showers, if it's even kind of warm, it washes out. So you have to try to protect it. Like you can use color saving shampoos and stuff.
I find those help, honestly.
Yeah.
To some degree.
But the dry shampoo was like, that was my first tip when I was told like, blues wash out pretty easily. It's really red. Like if you want hair color that lasts, it's red. Like you can never get it out. Anyway.
I feel like red's a safe choice for a lot of people. You know, usually looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing right now. Actually, I'm going to change it to rose gold soon.
Nice.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. Caliente. So yeah, we're talking about conventions. We're talking about bathrooms. We're talking about janitor. That was actually probably one of the best segues I've ever had on this podcast.
Yes.
We just got through like 15 minutes, and that was that was smooth as butter.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
So
conventions.
Convention. Video games.
Wow, what a great segue, and then just nothing.
I was playing the transition music in my head. Let's turn back the clock now. So we've talked about the worst, the best bathroom experiences we have, but let's talk about the conventions themselves. We've gone through conventions. I picked every single person here because I know they've been to one. And also because I wanted to hang out with you. But the primary was to talk about our experiences. Since we can't really go to any right now, I thought it would be like a fun idea to kind of just talk about the fun times, maybe the not necessarily so fun times, but just to talk about those experiences and just get to know each other a little bit more. It's a team building exercise. That's what corporate calls these podcasts.
Woohoo!
So let's talk about our first conventions. So what was the first convention that you guys remember going to? Like, what was your perception of conventions beforehand, and how did you kind of wind up going to your first convention? I can actually start. I didn't really, like, I knew conventions existed. Like, I remember when I was in California, they actually put a lot of convention ads on TV because they had like a bunch of convention centers, and some of the bigger conventions were in Southern California. So I knew they existed, but it was something I couldn't go to because I was a child. Living on the East Coast, we had KatsuCon, and I didn't quite know about MagFest at the time, but we had Otakon and KatsuCon. Those were the two big ones, especially like anime conventions when I was in high school. And I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go to one because it was just kind of a weird concept. Like, I'm also kind of like an introvert. So going by myself to like this place with a bunch of people didn't make a lot of sense to me, and money. Right. But then I finally I took the dive because a bunch of my friends that I had made when I started working at GameStop were going. So I went with them. And my first one, I think I actually can't remember if my first con was either Katsu or Otakon. I think it was Katsu. I think that was my first one. And it's a good warm-up. Like, Otakon's like that big anime convention on the East Coast. Katsu's like, at the time, was like mini. Like, it was like Otakon's little brother. Because it was basically the same convention, and it was still at the Gaylord when I started going. And so that was a very odd experience. Like, it was kind of like going to Disneyland the first time. And the only reason why I say that is because when you go the first time and you see the cosplay, you're kind of like really excited by it. And you kind of are just like, oh my God, it's that. You're dressed up as that person from that show. Oh my God, it's, you're Bleach.
That's so wholesome.
Yeah. So, and I couldn't take pictures again because I'm introverted. One of the weird things for me is like, now that I've gone to a lot, like the cosplay is just something I barely notice anymore. But yeah, I think that was like my first experience. So whoever wants to take the mic away from me.
You've had your turn. Now I'm taking this mic away from you. Anyway.
Thanks, John Mulaney.
Anyway, my first con experience was 2008. I was 18. I mentioned it before on this podcast, ConnectiCon. I didn't have a lot of expectation for it. It was the first con I went to was also the first con I cosplayed at as well. Because like I'd only ever heard stories from like my friends about it, and it was one of those things where it's like, well, okay, let me give this a shot. I just graduated high school, fresh out of high school, going to my first ever convention, and it was ConnectiCon. I think they're trying to advertise it more as like an all around sort of like nerd culture kind of convention nowadays, but back then it was very much more focused on anime and Japanese culture. So I went there and it was just like, a starry-eyed youth entering this world that I had only ever experienced like through the internet and through various forms of media, and it was a great experience. I was probably overstimulated just a touch. And the cosplay I did was I read a webcomic back in those days called Dominic Deegan Oracle for Hire, and I cosplayed as a character who's a pickpocket in that named Bumper, because it was like the easiest costume to pull off, and I met the creator of the webcomic there, so that was a really neat experience.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Sab, how about you?
So my first con was much later than everyone. You're all like 2008. I'm like, my first con was 2015 or 2016. It's 2016. Sorry, it took me a second to think of that. My first con was actually MagFest. Because the year prior, a lot of my friends in the video game music community had gone. I had never heard of it, and then one of my friends put out a vlog about it and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And I remember talking to Insane in the Ring, because both of us had never he had been to PAX Prime before, but we're like, yo, we should go to MagFest so we can finally meet all of our friends. And before I went to a con, it was just kind of like, I thought it was only for cosplayers and people who played card games, because I think that's kind of what it was in the early 2000s. It was very anime focused.
Yeah.
I think it's become more gaming, it's including gaming and having more gaming focused conventions nowadays. But I feel like it was such a magical experience, because first of all, MagFest is ginormous. But then to meet people that I had talked with, stayed up late playing Cards Against Humanity with online, and making music with for 2-3 years, I was finally getting to meet in person for the first time. So it was a really cool experience, and I went every year after until this year, so must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, kind of a similar story to you as well. MagFest was also my first convention in 2011, so I've been going to conventions since 2011, and I was very young. I was only in 8th grade, and I was really kind of starting to embrace my nerdiness, and I had never heard of conventions prior, but I wanted to meet some YouTubers that I was a fan of, and so that's how I found out about MagFest, because people were saying they were going, and I live in Maryland, so I was like, oh my gosh, it's so close by. But back then, this was actually the last year that MagFest was at just some hotel in, I think, Alexandria, Virginia. And then the year after is when they started going to the Gaylord in National Harbor, Maryland. So my dad took me, and we only went for a day, and I was so overwhelmed, just you guys were saying as well, just because I didn't really have too many expectations for it. But I think once we booked our badges and stuff, I went to YouTube and looked up videos, and I was blown away because it looked so fun. So after my first MagFest, I was like, I have to keep going to these. And then I went to PAX Prime, which is what it was called back then, also in 2011, but I was also only able to go to that for a day because a family emergency came up. And then 2012 onward, I've basically been going to every MagFest since then, since, it's like a local convention for me. I went to PAX East until like 2017 or so. And I also go to AwesomeCon, which is in DC. That's also more of a comic related convention. But yeah, I feel like your experience as a first timer versus when you have been going to conventions for years and years is so different, because at first I was also like, oh my gosh, look at all these cosplayers. This is so cool. And especially with the really big kind of more quote mainstream conventions like PAX, where they have these huge expo floors and like actual video game companies showing up, it's really fun, but also overwhelming. And then as I started going to more PAXs, I found myself not caring as much about the expo hall and more about just hanging out with my friends. So that's kind of just what conventions have become for me now.
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of like firsts, because MagFest is so different than any other convention that I've gone to. Like a lot of anime, basically a lot of conventions you expect to see some extent of partying, but it's so different based off where you go. I think MagFest, because everything's so self-contained in the Gaylord, I kind of liken it to a gamer Woodstock, just because you're all kind of hanging out and there's constant partying. Like the entire time is a celebration time, and so there's always something going on. And it's like Thursday night, the very first day, there's already beer cans just like littered all over the place because they won't fit inside the recycle bins. Yeah,
I mean, it's 24/7, so.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that contributes to it. I can't think of another. I think MomoCon's pretty close to that.
Yeah, a bit.
I'd say there are three factors that make MagFest significantly different than any other convention. One is how self-contained it is within the Gaylord, just because of like you're not only are you is the convention there, but you're also rooming and boarding there. Exactly. If you get lucky.
Exactly.
Get the lottery.
So you could go down in your pajamas and it's not weird, because you could just be like, oh, if I want to change clothes, I can just head back up to the hotel room. And also, you're not leaving that convention center because it is cold outside.
Yeah.
A summer MagFest would be great.
My God. I feel like winter and like MagFest in particular is like, I hope this doesn't give people like a warped perception of what Virginia is like, or like Southern Maryland is like in the winter, because it's never snowing like this. Ever. But it always snows during MagFest. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does.
I think 2020 was the first year it was actually surprisingly pretty nice weather.
And then it snowed immediately after. Like,
right?
As soon as everybody left, we got snow. It was great timing.
But then the other two things are that it's 24/7. So like there's always something going on, even if it's not like panels or something. Like people can just kind of like schedule their own things and do them like throughout all 3 or 4 of the days, however long it goes on for.
Yeah.
But the third thing is that unlike, big gaming conventions like PAX or like any of those ones, there's no corporate presence. It's just kind of like you go there to chill, hang out, do some shopping of either like collectibles that like people have brought, like video games or whatever, or like things that people have like handmade in the artist alley. There's like the arcade there. There's just like the general gaming room. You can go to concerts. You could just like go to any like hallway and there's like people set up in the little jam spaces they have there and just listen to people play music.
Yeah.
It's just always something happening, and like no heavy corporate presence about it. And that's I think that's what makes MagFest so special compared to other conventions.
Very well said. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of brings me back to that like Disneyland idea where I think for MagFest, because I've been to a bunch of different conventions before MagFest, I think like Shinjin or this like same as you, I started going because I heard other people were going. Like the first time I heard about it was actually at a booth at KatsuCon. Somebody was trying to promote it, and I didn't start going until I want to say it was either the 2015 or 2016 one. I don't really remember the exact year. I'm pretty sure it's 15. I started going because I wanted to like see what was going on there, and I think that was an interesting experience because with Katsu and with Otakon, because there's an end and because Baltimore is so big, everything kind of takes place outside, not necessarily just inside the convention walls. And so to see MagFest be like we just described it is kind of was a first for me at the time. And I would say PAX East was also like a big first time for me, even though I didn't start going until 2017. I think that was my first one because I did the Zelda Universe panel there. And to see like that expo hall being filled with indie games that you could try out, like Square Enix is always there every year, Nintendo's there every year, to kind of look there and try out new things and talk to the developers that are making these games was such a different experience for me at the time that I was just kind of blown away. Like that's definitely one of my more favorite things that I look forward to during the years is PAX East specifically. Because it just offers something different that none of the other conventions that I've been to really give you.
It's a nice con and I miss it. I mean, I lived in Boston
Also
for
freezing.
4 years. I mean,
Also
I lived
freezing.
in Boston for 4 years, so
Yes.
for me, it was the one time a year I didn't have to pay for a flight or pay for a hotel. It was just like me and a
Yeah.
few friends, we would like Uber on over to the convention center. So like that was so nice for me. It was like either it's like, all right, you go to this one class and then you're out, or it's like, all right, you never miss school like ever, so you can afford to take 2 days off for your job.
Yes, treat yourself.
That's how I feel about PAX South and RTX now, because I live in Austin now. So
Right.
the RTX is just a quick Uber ride to downtown, and PAX South is just an hour drive to San Antonio.
Yeah.
There is something really empowering.
It's so nice when you're local.
Exactly. Like there's something really cool about having a convention that is kind of in your own backyard. MagFest 2020 was probably like actually we can kind of I'll use this as my segue. I'm going to talk about probably one of my more favorite convention memories, but it was pretty much MagFest 2020 because not only was I able to kind of continue meeting new people, but the relationships that I've been building with everybody over the last 4 or 5 years, we actually went out and got Korean barbecue. And it's significant for me because like Northern Virginia is where I live. It's where I've lived for the last 25 years. So it was kind of like me taking these friends who I've mostly been talking to online and just kind of being like, here, let's go to where I like to go. Like kind of inviting you in. It's almost like inviting you into my house without actually inviting you to my house. And just being able to share where I live with everyone else was just a really cool experience for me, and just allowing everyone to kind of partake in these things that I like to enjoy doing in my area. Not everyone can really partake in Korean barbecue everywhere. So that particular MagFest was very nice for me because it was really nice to be able to hang out with everyone outside of the convention and outside of National Harbor.
Right.
So that was just, and I was, kind of hoping to do it again. But
We'll have our chance. It's just a matter of patience at this point.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of took my my favorite story there, but I guess I'll because I was there for that Korean barbecue trip.
You sure were.
That was a fun time.
I mean, just how many happy birthdays there were just in that one night.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. So many people, it had to have been like every 5 minutes there were waiters coming out to sing happy birthday to a different table. We were so tempted to say one of us at our table had a birthday going on just so we could do that. But anyway, I guess another one of my favorite memories of convention is also at MagFest. This was, I'm trying to remember what year it was. Probably like somewhere between 2016 and 2018, I would say. I was rooming with a bunch of friends. One of them was currently my editor. I was like hanging out with just like jumping from like group to group, hanging out with people. One of my friends from the group I was sharing the room with, more or less straight edge. So like a lot of our roommates were drinking at the time. I didn't feel comfortable there, so I brought him over to our friend rented out a I think it was like an apartment or a condo for the weekend for that. So that was kind of like their base of operations. So like I brought him over there, and like he met a bunch of new people and he had a great time. And I'm always happy to like see, you know, my groups of friends kind of like commingle and you know, react to each other in such positive ways. So like that was a fun experience for me.
So wholesome. I love it.
It's such a nice moment when stuff like that gets to happen.
Yeah.
I think like kind of going back to what Andrew was saying was like, you know, I think like one of the coolest things is when a convention is like in your own backyard, you get to show people beyond the convention center. Because normally when you're at a con, you're like, I'm not leaving this convention center. So it's really nice when you get to show them. Like I got to do that with PAX East last year. So like literally right before the shutdown, Emil and Massey came, like Massey was staying an extra day with me, and it was so funny to have them come into my tiny studio apartment in like downtown Boston and have a meal before I even had a chance to like explain anything. He knew where everything was because of like my streams and my videos. He's like, hey, that's where you do this and that's where you do this, and I'm like and I like got to take them out because they've only ever had the food by the convention center. So like I took them up for Korean chicken.
Wait,
where'd you go?
And bubble tea in Boston.
Yeah.
It's a place called Bonchon. It's like a chain, but like
we've got Bonchon here in the DMV too.
I convert everyone to Bonchon. But kind of one of my favorite experiences was from PAX East. I think it was 2019. We had left the convention center, and a thing that we, like, Jules, Adriana, Carlos, myself, Emil, and Massey like to do is, like, go to the Cheesecake Factory. Like, I don't know why, they just kind of did it, and I was like, we go along for the ride. And there was one night that, like, on Sunday, it was, like, a really long wait, so there was a Cold Stone right next to the Cheesecake Factory, and Emil's like, I feel like getting ice cream. And everyone's like, before dinner, I'm like, dude, I'll go with you. Let's go get some ice cream. I'm always in the mood. So we're like in this little Cold Stone Creamery, and we're talking about work. And I told him like, you know, oh yeah, these are the covers that I'm planning on doing. And Emil starts talking about future Let's Plays. And I'm like, does he really want to be doing this in a public place when like it's a filled Cold Stone Creamery? But, you know, I'm just like, you know what? I trust Emil. So he talks and talks and talks. And as we're, like, getting close, like, we're ordering, the person in front of us, as they pay, they're like, wait, are you Chugga Conroy? And Emil and I are like, oh, my God. And so the guy left, and Emil turns to me and he goes, well, that viewer's certainly gotten earful. So, like, we, like, think about that every time is, like, oh, that Cold Stone Creamery, then that viewer probably learned so much information, but that was probably one of my favorite experiences.
Well, you know what? Like, Emil should have just gotten right up in his face and just said, no one will ever believe you.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the stuff actually, like, changed after. Within 2 weeks, he was like, and it wasn't even because of that. There were other circumstances, but it just made me laugh so hard. And we always talk about the Cold Stone incident.
The Cold Stone incident.
We can't talk
he's
about
mentioned
Cold
like
Stone.
he's mentioned one project in a TRG video, but I don't want to like talk too much about it because it's not like a place, but it's just like it's funny because I kind of know the circumstances that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you do.
With Let's Plays. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite convention stories actually also has to do with Emil. This is from a long time ago. It was MagFest 2013. It was like maybe the last day or at some point where, you know, there's not a whole lot to do. So a bunch of us were just chilling and hanging out at those circular tables that they have, which that's always like my favorite spot at MagFest. I remember there was like a year or two where they didn't have the tables and my friend group was freaking out. We were like, where are the tables?
I just want to see if I could pinpoint exactly where they are. You're on the atrium level. You just came through that hallway that has like the massage parlor and everything like that. And then off to the left, there are those round tables. Am I right?
Precisely.
I keep forgetting that there's a friggin' massage parlor at National.
I should really take advantage of that one day.
The Gaylord is a high class hotel. So
it is. Yeah, it's fancy schmancy.
It's expensive.
But so we're all just hanging out, and Emil bought like a Pokeball blind box, like one of those things that you open the Pokeball and there's like a random Pokemon in there, and it was either Piplup, Chimchar, or Turtwig. So it was one of the Gen 4 starters. So I think a bunch of us bought some of those Pokeballs, and we're all opening them up, and they are all Piplup. We're like, what? Why are these all Piplup? And Emil's like, you know what? I kind of want to buy more. So we all go back down to the marketplace, buy like 2 more each, go back up to the tables, and then like one by one we're opening, like, come on, let's get something that's not Piplup. So Emil opens it up, and everyone's like, come on, and it's a Chimchar, and everyone's freaking out. We finally have a new Pokemon. And then after the first Chimchar, everyone starts pulling Chimchar. We're like, it like back to back Chimchars. And we're like, well, at least it's not Piplup, but like, where's Turtwig? And then there's one Pokeball left. It's my friend Bo. He opens it up, and it's a Turtwig, and everyone is freaking out, just like yelling, Turtwig! And it was like such a dorky moment, but I don't know why. It's one of my favorite convention memories, just because it was so hype.
Turtwig! Turtwig! Yes!
I'm just imagining all this hooping and hollering going on, like that wombo, like that old Melee wombo combo video.
Yes, that is Falco. Where are you at? That's exactly what the energy was like. So to prep for this video, I decided to go back and rewatch a bunch of my old convention vlogs, which was extremely emotional and sentimental, but also super cringeworthy, because I've been vlogging for all these years, and I'm like, oh god, this is awful. Like, you should not have kept that in. Why didn't you edit that out? Like, it was very hard to watch, but also really, really fun to like relive those memories. So rewatching like that whole thing with the Pokeballs was hilarious to get to kind of relive
that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wholesome.
Yeah. Well,
these are also wholesome.
I mean, that's part of why I wanted to do this. And I was kind of hoping like maybe I can try to just continue this trend, but until conventions come back, we'll probably get some more guests and see what their stories are. But actually, Sab, your story reminded me of another one. On that same Korean barbecue day, we went to get bubble tea afterwards, and we were literally just standing around. And I guess so. I'll set the scene. It's like a really tiny bubble tea place in Alexandria, and I can't remember if it's Tito or TDM. I think it's Tito. You have myself, my girlfriend DM. We have Lucajin, Tom, Donna, Emil, Masay. G was there. G had such a good time. It's like a group of like content creators just like walk into a Tito, and we're ordering our bubble tea, and somebody, I think Emil was in the bathroom. He comes out of the bathroom, and one of the other people, like just another random customer, is like, "Oh my God, are you Chugga Conroy?" And I just see Tom in the corner, just like, "This is why we can't take you anywhere."
It's always Emil.
I mean, I feel that. I avoided taking him to my university because I wanted to like show them around my music school because it's like right where we were. But someone I went to college with is a huge Chugga Conroy fan, like to the point where they would pester me being like, "What's his next LP?" I'm like, "I don't know, and I'm not telling you."
What does he smell like?
Yeah, and I was just like, I can't bring Emil into the College of Fine Arts building at Boston University on a Monday because I know this person's gonna be there.
On a Monday?
So I avoided well, I mean, everyone was in school. I took off.
Yeah.
I took off student teaching. I took off college. I was like, bye.
If you knew what class he had at that point,
I
and
know,
you knew he
but
like
I
sat
didn't.
by the window, you should have brought him and then walked by the window, and then like during
my
class he would have
gosh.
been like, oh,
I should have pretended to like give Emil a tour because I was like, I gave tours in the School of Music, so I should have pretended to just give him a tour, hoping that the guy would be there.
That would be so fun.
man.
I can't wait for Emil to listen to this.
Just have Emil walk in and be like, "Hey, I'm from the Make-A-Wish Foundation."
I asked him permission. Like, I messaged him a few hours ago. I'm like, "Is it okay if I tell the Cold Stone story?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." So I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
I'm like, I'm not gonna like say anything about the titles, right? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. But most of the projects have been released at this point, so
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually with my poor timing, this will probably come out in like 3 years anyway. So,
who knows
what
if
has
cons
been
will
out
be
will
back by
be.
then.
Exactly.
Aw.
I hope not. I hope that it's not that long.
This will be a time capsule to a days gone by.
That's right. I'm just gonna put it
yes.
in my YouTube and just set it for like 5 years from now.
Can you imagine if you could schedule a video that far in advance?
Off topic a little bit. I've wanted to do that. I wanted to like record a Let's Play and then like set the release time for like 10 years down the line.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah. That's kind of what it is. You're just like crossing your fingers like, I hope YouTube isn't dead in 10 years.
Well, sorry guys, got 3 copyright strikes from videos that didn't have copyright strikes on them before. This Let's Play's never coming out. I already deleted the other videos for them.
Exactly. You guys, it was going to be so amazing. Yeah, I think MagFest 2020 was definitely like one of my favorite experiences.
It is awesome.
But I think in general, just kind of having the ability, I think cumulatively we're kind of going into the same direction, just being able to like share experiences with each other and just having that like I think that was like extremely fulfilling for me. I think that's an extremely fulfilling experience for like anyone, just kind of being able to, because really when I hang out with y'all, like this is kind of it for me. Like for most of the year, I really can only talk with you through either Discord or Twitter and things like that. So to be able to have that face-to-face time and to be able to hang out for a bit and just share our experiences with each other is really powerful, and why I really like was enjoying that. And like as soon as MagFest was over, I was already thinking about like, well, I have a Korean chicken place that's nearby, and like I'm thinking about taking everyone to there, and like whenever we can do MagFest
when's
again.
the next time I can see these
Right.
people again?
Exactly. So.
I think we kind of like jumped ahead a little bit on the topics, but I'm gonna piggyback over what you said to kind of go to that topic of what makes a good convention experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like the best conventions I've been to have been specifically, I keep going back to MagFest on this one. Specifically, the best conventions I've been to have been MagFest when it was small enough where like you could go anywhere and do anything without really having to wait or feeling like you were overwhelmed by a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
like 2013 to like maybe like 2016 MagFest was probably like peak time.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the best convention experience.
I totally agree with that, because I mean, yeah, like you said, we keep going back to MagFest, but there's a reason for that, because for me, what really makes a good convention experience is not only the people, but also the atmosphere. And, you know, that's specifically what makes you keep coming back to specific conventions, because of the atmosphere. And especially before MagFest really blew up, and of course, like, I'm so happy to see it find its success, because obviously we all love it for so many reasons. But when you could actually like book a hotel at the Gaylord, no problem.
Oh God.
And it was small enough that it still felt really special and magical, but also big enough that, you know, there were plenty of things to do, plenty of people to meet, and new friends to kind of become closer to, and activities. It was just really special. And of course, there are things like conventions like PAX, or I go to AwesomeCon, which is very comic centered, so they'll bring a lot of special guests and actors and stuff, and you know, that's always really cool and awesome to see and be a part of. But it's more about the people for me, and getting to hang out in those really fun, nerdy environments where you don't really get to hang out with your friends in those specific scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like any con that I go to regularly is obviously one I enjoy. We go to New York Comic Con every year. We've been doing that for probably a good 6 or 7 years now, and I mean, really, it's the atmosphere there too. I mean, you have the convention; it's a crowd. You're packed in like sardines in the expo hall, and you just smell buttered popcorn everywhere. But you're also in New York, and so once
There's
a year
so
being able
much
to like
to do.
go into the city. And then you have like, I think the post-con depression for a lot of conventions doesn't really hit me as often, but for New York it did, because I'd come back to Virginia and there's like not as much to do and it's like back to work. And it kind of hits you like a truck, because in New York you can do so many different things and go to so many different places. So that one is also one of my favorites, but and I think PAX East, again, being able to do whatever you want in Boston, but also the convention center, there's so much to do, and I get to still kind of see everybody. But I think, and I'll segue into our next topic as well. Segue is the word of the day here, and janitor.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't necessarily quite enjoy so much about the bigger conventions is just the constant push and pull of either trying to be somewhere and trying to cram yourself through people in order to get there.
Yep.
Some of the lines that you have to sit in order to get to panels, or any kind of like reserve line, can be a pain in the neck. If you're a fan of Funko Pops and you go to New York Comic Con, they actually have like a lottery the month before to see if you're allowed into the Funko Pop line.
Oh my gosh.
And if
That's
so,
crazy.
what time of day are you allowed to go? And so people
Holy
who...
crap.
Well, last year, my girlfriend got into the line, and she didn't really want anything, but she was like, if anybody else wants something, I'll get them something. That's usually the only reason why she does it. But the time frame was for, I think, like before 3 p.m. Thursday. So it's like Thursday's the very first day of the convention. And so if you didn't go Wednesday night to New York, usually we go very early Thursday morning, and we're not going to get there until noon. And so I think it was like 11 a.m. I think it was actually like, as soon as it opened, it was like one of the first spots that she could pick. And it's like, if you can't make it, sorry. So even though we got into the lottery, we didn't even go.
Wow. The world of Pops is insane.
No, we were starting to make jokes that it was PopCon, because all of the stalls that used to sell like memorabilia, so you could, if you were somehow really jonesing for a Darkwing Duck action figure, they had it still in box. Like, that kind of went away because it was all about the vinyl figures. Like, vinyl figures were so instantly resellable that you would see booths go into the pop line, buy stuff, and then resell it in their own booths. Like, that's how bad it got.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
That's ridiculous.
It kind of ruins the spirit of the convention as well. Because then it just turns, like, those particular booths just kind of turn into like a money grab.
Yeah, just the scalping nature of it.
I remember seeing somebody with a dolly. And by dolly, I mean the thing that you use to push shit around, because he had boxes and boxes of Pops. Like, the actual shipping boxes, that's how many he bought.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
So he had like 3 of those stacked on top of each other on this dolly, and he was just wheeling around the con. I'm like, that's a lot of effort. Like, you have to carry that around for the rest of the day. Why are you doing this?
I mean, like, he also could have been part of like a booth.
I hope so, because like, that's too much. Because most people, like, there is no close by. There's only maybe a couple of close by hotels from the Javits Center, but it's a walk if you're staying somewhere.
Yeah, that was my first thought too, is like, how are you hauling that home or to your hotel room?
Well,
Very carefully.
I mean, the Javits Center also has a UPS store, so
They do, and I wouldn't be surprised
point.
if they were utilizing it in some way. And if not, then there's
Probably.
always Penn Station a couple blocks away.
That's true.
It also has my favorite place to go, Tim Hortons.
I'm just happy you didn't say Krispy Kremes.
Oh yeah, we have one I have one nearby. So if I want fresh Krispy Kremes,
There you go.
it's only 40 minutes away.
They have the
there's
best glazed donut. 40 minutes is a lot.
It's not that bad. It takes me 40 minutes just to get to the Gaylord.
Yeah, same.
So
I mean, that's about as close as Krispy Kreme used to. The closest Krispy Kreme to me was in a casino. Like that's like
yeah.
I lived in a small town in Connecticut, and the closest one was at Mohegan Sun.
Oh my god.
I want donuts, please.
And there were two in Mohegan Sun. In fact, my buddy, his girlfriend, and I went to Mohegan Sun, specifically to go Krispy Kreme, because if you dressed like a pirate on Talk Like a Pirate Day at Krispy Kreme, they'll give you a free dozen donuts. So we all went.
my
and each got
God.
free donuts.
Yes. I have heard of that.
That is a thing they do. I think Chipotle
That was
used
a
to do
fun
that.
time.
I think the only other weird story that I have, I actually have a couple. I have more weird stories than I have heartwarming ones.
That's how conventions go, man.
Yeah, I had to like narrow
yeah.
down. I was like,
gets
which one
weird.
am I gonna tell? I had to
Yeah.
like think about that.
Choose all of them. It's fine. I can
So
break this up
true.
into 2 parts. I think I had a couple. One of them is MagFest, and it was actually from this past year. For some reason, MagFest 2020, probably because it was the last one, I have a better memory of. But that convention, I was doing a Zelda Universe panel. It was the first one that I was in control of. Usually we have like our media director take control of the panels if he's available to do it, but he wasn't this time, so I was like, okay, it's all me. And that was the one with Massey, Jules, and Adriana. And so I thought, like, okay, I'm coming from home. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I got Starbucks for everyone? Because A, it feeds into my caffeine addiction, and B, it's just all y'all are doing me a favor. I'm going to get coffee.
Oh,
for
I think
everyone.
I know this story.
So I get to the convention center. I'm hanging out for a little bit, and I think the panel's at, what was it, 5 or 5:30 or something like that?
I think so.
And so at about 4:30 or 4:20, I
Nice.
decide to get coffee for everyone. And everyone's giving me their orders already, and I'm going to go to the Starbucks in Weston, and I'm trying to order ahead, and both Massey and Adriana want pink drinks. And if not pink drink, then something similar to it. I think it was like the dragon fruit drink.
Yeah.
And
Both solid choices.
both solid choices. Both were out. So 3 orders that I can't even get. Jules's, I think, was the most easiest one because I think it was just a pike, just plain black coffee.
Yeah, probably. Either that or like a cold brew, knowing Jules.
I was really hoping that this would work out. What's the nearest Starbucks away from the convention center? It's like the I can't remember if it's a hard or a soft G, but it's like the Tanger outlets over in Maryland. And it's a good like 15 minutes away, and it's inside, like it's deep inside the outlet mall.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, I know what.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I drove there.
My need to please these people is too strong.
Yes, it is. Much like the intense caffeine of a cold brew coffee. My need for validation is extremely strong. So I drive all the way over there, and they have everything, and I order ahead and I pick it up. And I think I get to the convention center at 10 minutes before. I was like breathing heavily. And I rush in, and my stuff is in one of my friends' room in the convention center. So I go out, and luckily Jules and Adriana were out in the lobby. So I dropped my shit in front of them. Like, I dropped the coffees in front of them. I told Jules, like, here's y'all's coffee. And I rushed to the room to pick up my laptop and everything. And then I meet everybody in the room where we're doing the panel. And I think Adriana was kind of just like, I remember seeing like a bunch of coffee sitting next to us. And I was like, man, I really hope that's ours. But I think that was like the most nerve-wracking experience that I had, because I was like, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be so late. But I need this. I need this win.
What a good friend. You did it. You got the job done.
I got coffee.
Yeah.
For me.
I was very thankful. I was like, you didn't even need to do this, but this was very kind of you.
Aww.
Because normally I'm the one who gets the stuff, like, you know, because Jules is normally waking up for, like, you know, when we're doing our theory panel. So I'm like, hey, what kind of coffee do you want me to get you? So that you can be somewhat alive for this.
Well, and it's why I am so thankful that PAX East has a Starbucks in the Westin.
Right. Which is
That is-
attached to the convention center.
That is
Yep.
my favorite aspect about PAX East.
Hopefully with pink drinks in stock.
Oh yeah, that was a much
That's
easier
the zinger.
experience.
That's the kicker.
That was a much easier experience. They had everything, but I couldn't order ahead, and I couldn't use my stars. I had saved up so many stars specifically from MagFest that I was like, oh, I'll use them all during PAX East. And they're like, we don't take those. Like, of course you fucking don't.
I'm drinking a Starbucks right now. I got a caramel brulee latte.
I just finished my peppermint mocha.
Well, there we go. The holiday drinks
That's
I
right.
had a Coke.
in January.
I just had a Bigelow green tea.
Ooh, healthier.
I have a few weird stories that I'd like to tell. 2 from MagFest, 1 from Youmacon.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll start with the MagFest one, and I'd like to preface this by saying, sorry, Smarty, for telling the story again. It was the first MagFest I went to.
Smarty's already like,
He knows, if he's listening to this, he knows exactly what it is. First MagFest I went to, I carpooled with Smarty and a bunch of his friends. We're staying in two separate hotel rooms together, 4 people per room, 2 queen beds per room. Smarty and I were sharing a bed, and in the middle of the night, I feel something press up against my back and an arm wrap around me. Turns out, John was cold and attracted to, this is how he explains it. He was cold and attracted to my heat, as he put it. So he was like cuddling up against me, and like there was a brief moment where I wasn't sure what was going on, and like 2 minutes later, I'm like, no, he's not stopping. So I'm like, John, what the hell? And he's like, oh, sorry, man. And then we had a panel to play Cards Against Humanity later that, I don't know if it was that year or a different year, but we had a panel to play Cards Against Humanity. So we had a packed room, and we had a bunch of like the custom cards, and one of them was that time Smarty spooned Tom. And so that card came up, and I'm like, oh, man, MagFest, do I have a story for you? And I retold that story, and Smarty's just sitting there with his head in his hands.
he was just very attracted to your essence.
Yeah.
We all need a good spoon, you know.
They all need a good spoon
session.
sometimes. The other MagFest story was, this is probably like 2014, 2015. This is kind of like the peak of like Newgrounds animators making it big on YouTube. So I was hanging out with Spaz Kid 3D, Ross O'Donovan, and Lyle Rath, who at the time went as Lyle McDouchebag. Mm-hmm. And someone came up to us and was like pointing out everybody. He's like, oh yeah, big fan of you guys, Spaz Kid and Ross. And he looks at Lyle and he goes, Shadman? And without missing a beat, Lyle goes, yes, I am Shadman. So, and then like he got a picture with all of them, and they tagged him later, and like it was like, tagged like, the guy posted on Twitter, tagged like, oh, here's Ross, here's Spaz Kid, and here's Shadman, and Shadman got so angry at Lyle for that. Oh my God, it was hilarious. And then the story from Youmacon was, I was a guest at Youmacon, so they had like a special green room for the guests on like the top floor of the Renaissance Center. So I was just hanging out up there. They had like an open bar and snacks and like a cooler full of drinks. So I'm just hanging out up there, and a couple of like I feel really out of place because it's like this is my first time like guesting at a convention like this. So like a lot of the guests are like Team 4-Star and like several anime voice actors and a bunch of other content creators. So at one point, Chris Rager, the voice of Hercule Satan, comes up to me, puts his arm around me, and starts explaining to me how Hercule was the payoff for Dragon Ball.
Oh my gosh.
And he was plastered. It was and I'm just sitting there like kind of in like I can't believe I'm talking to the voice actor of Mr. Satan like this, and I love Mr. Satan, like he's one of my favorite characters in DBZ, but at the same time I'm sitting here like, should I be stopping this?
No, let it happen, let it roll.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Youmacon was a really good one. I love that convention a lot.
Yeah, that's a great story.
You seem to have a lot of stories about people grabbing you.
Do I have any others? Those are the only two that come to mind, Smarty and Chris Rager.
The rest you've repressed.
All of a sudden, this head just starts
they'll
really
come back up
hurting.
in therapy.
You're gonna wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, ah, damn, I should have told that story.
Yes, the repressed ones.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, disclaimer, nobody's grabbed my junk, but I just like wake up in a cold sweat, like, it's like the time Tom Kenny grabbed my junk or something like that.
No.
I've never met Tom Kenny.
I've got a good story to kind of piggyback off of that and like weird fetishes. So let me explain.
Away.
All right. So this one's probably my favorite. I have a few stories as well. This one's from MagFest 2020. And one of my good friends, Cyrus at Psychopather, he did a panel on the live action masterpiece that is Zoe 101. So this was a panel.
Oh my God, that panel.
Were you at that one?
No, my panel was going on at the same time, I think.
That's so unfortunate. But it was so hilarious. Like the full panel is on the MagFest channel, and I highly recommend watching it because it was a blast. But as you may or may not know, the creator of Zoe 101, Dan Schneider, has a bit of a feet fetish. So this joke during the panel just kind of came to be whenever a photo of Dan Schneider would be on the slide, people would just go into a chant saying, feet, 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 feet.
Jesus Christ.
Man, him and Joss Whedon. So weird.
So at the end of the panel, my friend was giving away a copy of the Zoe 101 DS game. Mm-hmm. So this one like really big, burly, hunky dude wins the game, and he goes up and grabs it. People start chanting feet again. And like sometime later into the night, I'm pretty sure this was Saturday night, it was like a midnight panel. So there were a bunch of like plastered dudes at the panel, and it was great. So later on in the evening, we're like in a huge crowded hallway. Bunch of people are walking by, and we see the guy who won the Zoe 101 game. And so we all just kind of like make eye contact with him. And then we all start chanting in this crowded hallway, feet, 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 feet. And it was, those other poor people just out of context. It was so weird, but it was fantastic.
I mean, MagFest is kind of the breeding ground for out of context conversations.
Exactly,
It really
exactly.
is.
That's a great segue into my other story, which is just the fact that like the whole Colossus yell thing at MagFest
God.
Yes.
is
Absolutely
great.
hate it.
Yep.
It's a hate it or you love it thing, but I think it's definitely died down in recent years. Like, oh God, like maybe like 2012 to 2014 was its peak. Like you could not go 5 minutes without hearing someone doing the roar.
Yeah.
And so
If it's on the convention floor, or like as long as it's not in the hotel lobby, I'm fine with it. But people would do it anyway in the hotel lobby, and it pissed me off.
Yeah. Okay, then you might not like the story, but at PAX East 2012, I don't remember what we were doing. I think we were waiting in line for a panel or something. Me and my friend dared Emil to try to start a Colossus yell, and this was at PAX East. And, you know, this whole thing is like a MagFest joke, right? And Emil's like, oh, man, I kind of want to do it. I don't know. And then he kind of is just like looking around and then like interrupts us talking just to do it. And no one reacted.
He tried to start
so
the wave.
Funny. Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the one thing when, you know, people start going back to MagFest again. They'll hear the roar one time. They're going to be like, oh, man, I missed it. And then they hear it a second time within 2 seconds. And they're like, and I'm over it.
See, I don't miss
now.
it. Like, I'm kind of like on edge. I'm like very skittish. And then like the first time I hear it, I'm like, and then like I kind of start to tune it out. Well, so actually, this is like a very short tail, but then I have 2 stories. It's all MagFest stuff because that's where all the weird stuff happens for me. I was very thankful that I play in a wind quartet that is flute, oboe, saxophone, and bassoon, and we were playing at the Belvedere lobby, MagFest 2020. That was a big deal for us. And, you know, it's four woodwind instruments. We're not that loud.
No.
And in the middle, you can hear it. Like, our set is uploaded on the MagFest site. someone starts a Colossus roar from down on like the bottom floor, and it spans for like 20 seconds, and like we all hear it as we're performing, and we're like, tune that the frick out. Like, it was just like, we're just gonna keep playing our Wind Waker medley, shut up. So that's like a performer's worst nightmare, is like having a Colossus roar interrupt what you're doing.
Yeah, that
We dream
is
about
really
the Colossus
rough.
roar.
But oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, it's unfortunately, like, the Colossus roar is just this weird kind of mix between like not being an obnoxious person, but it's also like tradition. And so
Right.
You ever just like realize when somebody, like, the joke got old and you're pleased just like trying to tell them to stop, but they keep making it? That's the Colossus roar to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a good way of putting it.
My first MagFest, the transportation was quite possibly the weirdest experience of my life. I took the train down because like I was in New Jersey at the time. So me and Insane in the Rain, like, we were taking the train down with his dad, and there were two trains leaving within 10 minutes of one another from New York to DC. One of them was delayed, so we're like looking at the board and we're like, shit, our train's delayed. We have to make sure we let the people who are picking us up know. And so we like sit and wait an hour, and we go to board this train. They're like, no, your train left an hour ago because we looked at the wrong number. So
no.
We then had to buy tickets and wait another like 2 hours. We're trying to like contact the people who are like picking us up. We're on the train. We're like 20 minutes from the DC train station, and our friend Ro is like, yeah, I can't find David. David is the one with the car. David's phone is dead, and I am so pissed because this is the first time I'm meeting my friends. I'm like, they are so irresponsible. I'm like, I don't even want to freaking look at them when we get in. Like, I was pissed. And keep in mind, I'm 18 years old. Like, I'm in high school when this is happening, but I'm just like pissed on this train. I'm like, why can't they freaking find David? I'm like, why is this a whole thing? They get us okay, and we try to go to a Burger King because we needed to eat. And they like kicked us out immediately. And the joke that we still hold to this day is that they were getting ready to throw a rave in the Burger King. And so the next morning comes, we're ready to go to the convention. David, who has the car, we're at the Red Roof Inn in like 20 minutes away. Oxon Hill, that's where we were. David left at 7 a.m. for a rehearsal for the convention. So the rest of us were like, okay, I guess we got to take the bus because this was before Uber. So we're like waiting at the bus. The bus says it's going to come, and like 10 minutes go by and the bus is not coming. We're freaking out, and this car pulls up right in front of us, and the person yells, "Get in!" And it was, I don't know if you know Suko G, the kazoo guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's yelling at us. He's like, "Get in!" Because I guess he had rented a car. So we get into this car with Suko G, who we're meeting for the first time. And we're like, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" And we convinced him.
No time to explain!
I was told never to do this from my parents and all authority, but I will do it.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, but then when we saw, we're like, oh, it's Suko.
I'm a friend of your mom's.
Seat and, like, pulls forward like an arm attached to a corpse and a belt sander. I need you to sand the fingerprints off this corpse.
No time.
Anybody who's sitting in the back with the corpse, I need you to start mixing cement. We're heading to the bridge.
We convinced him as he was parking the car, because at the end of all of his videos, he yells "kazooed." So like in the middle of a parking garage in National Harbor, we're like, "Suko, do it," and he did it.
Do the thing, Suko.
Say the line, Bart.
Julie, do the thing.
Yeah, Julie, do the thing.
Yeah, so like the first 24 hours of transportation were weird, but then the thing that tops it, and I don't tell this story very often, but it's really, really funny. I didn't ask permission to tell the story, but I don't care. Like, it's great.
It has to be told.
At the end of our first MagFest, a bunch of us went to Famous Dave's, the barbecue place. I think it's in Alexandria or something. So it's like 20 of us, and we have people from like the States. We have Suko, who's from France. We have people from Canada. And because we're such a large party, the waiter was asking if certain individuals within the group were paying together, you know. So by the time he gets to the end, like the last people he's asking are Carlos and myself. And so like we tell the guy what we want, and he goes, "Oh, are you two together?" And Carlos goes, "No!" And everyone just stopped and looked at him. Like, people were having conversations across the table, and everyone just looked at him. And I felt so bad for this poor waiter who has no idea why everyone is just stopped in their tracks. So it was always a funny story. It's like, "Oh, are you together?" "No!" And he's like, "I didn't say it like that." And I'm like, "I have 17 witnesses who will tell you otherwise." It's one of my favorite stories, considering it was our first convention.
You could have just said it plainly.
Yeah, he could have just gone like, "No," but it was just like, "No."
He got flustered.
Yeah, it has like
poor Carlos.
The anime blush marks on his cheeks.
Yeah, so I make fun of I mean, I still make fun of him, and I've known Carlos for like 6 years, and like we all still make fun of him for that.
I love it.
It's a great moment.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break now. We still have at least another hour's worth of conversation to go. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to cut this episode into 2 parts. Obviously, you're watching the first part. This episode should hopefully go up probably Friday or Saturday. If that's the case, then I will hopefully have part 2 up within the next couple of days. So if you're seeing this on a Friday or a Saturday when it first comes out, then hopefully the second part will be out probably the following Monday or Tuesday. So we'll still be talking a little bit more about our convention memories, a couple more off-topic conversations. But if you want to get more updates on what's going on, if you're seeing this for the first time, seeing my channel for the first time, please hit the subscribe button. You can hit the bell if you want. It don't make no difference. I know you use the sub feeds. And on top of that, you can follow me on Twitter at LaughingBoyLP. So I do a lot of channel updates and dumb jokes on there too. But be sure to return to the channel soon, and we will have part 2 up shortly.